So we're going to set up an SSH tunnel using Inlets Cloud. The beauty of Inlets Cloud is you don't have to host that, think about what cloud it's on, just pick a region. At the moment in the beta we have the US and we have the EU. I'll be picking the EU because I'm in the UK. First things first, we want to go over to the Inlets website. And what you'll see at the moment is the new blog post. Now, you can expose a single host and just SSH into that. There's not much fun in that. Better to be able to get into multiple hosts that you've got on your network. I'm going to have an Intel N100, and I'm also going to have a Raspberry Pi. You can just see the top of the picture of the M100 there. This is a fanless router it's sold as. It has 4 Ethernet ports. Quite nice for running VMs on. Now, this can already be done with a self-hosted Inlets tunnel and a TCP server, but we're going to be using a hosted tunnel server instead. So this part of the diagram, that's hosted. This is our home network. We've still got our Inlets client running there. And there's this new component called SSH MUX. And what that does is it receives a DNS request. And depending on what that DNS name is, it will use that to route it based upon some rules to different machines in your network. So given we said we have 2 machines, we're going to need to create 2 CNAME records, one for both of those. We want OpenSSH set up. It is already running on both of those machines, and the Inlets Cloud. What we'll do then is create a tunnel, put a basic name in it, pick a region and our 2 domains. I'll be doing this on the Inlets domain. So I'm going to add a tunnel. We'll call this SSH, so Peebo for Peterborough, where I live. We've got Cambridgeshire as a region, the UK. And then with n100.inlets.dev, I'm going to add a second one for the Raspberry Pi. So RPI. Inlets.dev. Now, you can actually, if you want, have something else in this. So you could have like hosts or SSH as part of the domain if you use your domain for something else. But for now, that's what I've got. I'm going to create this. And if this is your first time using that domain for anything, it will appear on your domains list as unverified. Simply copy the text record and insert it in your DNS panel. It's a one-off job. I've already done that. Onto the tunnel configuration. So here's our SSH Peebo. We don't have any data on it right now. There's no clients connected. And this is effectively a TCP pass-through tunnel. Anything that comes into the server gets directly sent as byte stream to your private Inlets client. So there's no way to intercept this. I've got some work to do here. I need to create these CNAMEs. So configure DNS. So n100.inlets.dev is going to go to cams1. Okay, let's do that. CNAME. So we call it n100. I tend to put these as short time to lives just for demos for when I'm editing things. And then the other one was RPI. This can take a little while to propagate through the network. Sometimes it's really quick as well. So we'll see what we get. So these are both installed on the Inlets domain. So we've got n100.inlets.dev, RPI, inlets.dev. They are still thinking about the verification. However, we are now in a position where we can copy the command to actually run the client, and that's run on our end. Let's see what the blog post says. Yeah, it says navigate back and copy the text. What we're going to do is take off the 80 rule, because we don't need port 80. We only need one port for this, which is 443. So I'm going to copy, paste this in. Now I'd be able to run this command already, And what the upstream is saying is where do we want traffic to go to. So when it hits 443 on the public side, on the Inlets cloud, I want it to actually go to 8443 on my side. And it may just be a bit more convenient if we run this in tmux, just to split the screen up. Okay, great. And then I'll move that up a bit for our next command. The next thing to do would be to create the SSH mux configuration for the servers that we've got, the 2 hosts. Now, I take it you know how to get the Inlets Pro client. If you don't, you can get it on Arcade. You can also get it on the releases page on GitHub. I already have it. And so now it's time to write our config file. This is where what we're proxying through Inlets Cloud receives requests and then figures out what to do with it. So we said n100.inlets.dev is going to go through to, I believe it was, find out real quick. And the port will be 22 if that's where you're running SSHD. So this is 25. If I was running SSH on an alternative port on my local network, I could put that in here as well. And then we want the Raspberry Pi. And I believe that's .18. Of course, we can always verify this. So it's a 25. That worked. That worked. So we've probably got everything we need there for this multiplexer. Now, if you were only exposing one host, you wouldn't need to go through this particular step. You would just have the upstream directly go where you want it. So we could put, if we only had an M100, we could put this address in here. And then whenever someone SSH to that domain on port 443, it will just end up going over to the correct host. Right. And then the SSH mux server is started in this way. It's detected the 2 hosts and now it's ready for us to SSH to it. Let's check on what the next step would be. So the next step then would be to go and edit our SSH config. And this is because the way the SSH mux works is we add a TLS header around the SSH connection. SSH mux unwraps that to read the server name and then it decides where to send the connection to. So if we go into my config, we've got something that I did here earlier. There's a testing one at the bottom. And let's see how this compares. So we've got a star dot, which means we don't have to replicate this and copy paste it for every host we expose. That's quite a neat feature. %H injects the host that you put. The port is always overridden to 443. And then we can see there's a proxy command. So it uses SSH mux's client as a proxy. And again, this isn't really a proxy. All it's doing is adding a TLS header on top of the connection. So I believe that all looks good. We should have our domains verified now. Yes, they're happy. We have a Kubernetes YAML if we wanted it. There's a systemd if you want to run this permanently. Again, you just adapt the exec start, and we have the caddy. So let's give it a run through. We do an SSH. What we can see is it's worked. The mux has said I've resolved the N100 to this internal address and I'm connecting you to it. And there we are on the M100. And then there's the rpi.inlets.dev. Again, I'm connected to Raspberry Pi. And that's it. It's just working. Now, Inlets Cloud right now doesn't have the capability to do IP filtering or pass the address on to do IP filtering. However, the self-hosted tunnel does support this. and we will have this in Inlets Cloud pretty soon as well, probably in a week or two. So if I put allow, I can then put in some external EC2 address, or I could put in a whole subnet in here. I could put in my mobile hotspot, my mum's egress IP at her house, so that I knew, or maybe at my office, that this IP range and these IPs can connect. And what SSH Mux will do is it will deny any requests that don't match that. But if you leave it blank, anybody that connects can connect. Therefore, you must go in and customize your SSHD config. You really want to have password authentication off, look at the challenge response settings, and use a strong key for this. Then maybe also disable root login, and you should be good to go. So, I mean, that was pretty quick, wasn't it? We didn't have to create a tunnel server. We didn't have to think about what its IP address was. We just copied and pasted things from the UI. Now, there are some neat tricks that you can do with this. Once you have SSH running, you can port forward something from, let's say, that N100 back to your machine. So it could be a Node.js application. It might be that you've got something in Kubernetes on that cluster or in a context installed on that machine. You can port forward it and then access it on your host. You can do a couple at the same time, and what is pretty nice is you can copy files and even rsync hold folders. So if you're working on some code on a Mac and you know that that needs to compile on a Linux host, you can rsync it, and that will only send the deltas over your tunnel to the host on your remote network. You're already SSH'd in. You can build, deploy, test the code, tweak it, go through that process again. So yeah, you have self-hosted. Tunnel's still an option. You have the Inlets Cloud Beta, which is a very quick option, as we've just shown. And then IP allow lists for seeders and individual IPs is available on self-hosted and will be on Inlets Cloud shortly too. If you want to try this out, you can go to cloud.inlets.dev and you can just click register. And that will apply you basically for the beta, and we'd love to hear from you. All right. Well, if you've got any questions, there's a Discord that you get membership to once you sign up to Inlets Cloud. Otherwise, you can send me an email. If you're an Inlets subscriber already, you will have received the email from me when you signed up. Okay. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.